Welcome. I'm Meg DeForest. I'm a community librarian here at the Edmonton Public Library. And today I'd like to welcome you to EPL's Digital Detox class. And if you'd like a copy of the slides or notes and resources that I mentioned, those will be available for you online as well. So by the end of our time together, I do hope that you'll be able to leave us some info on different ways to do a digital detox, or even just to set better boundaries with specific uses of technology that are interfering with your enjoyment of your life, as well as a way to make a plan for your personal detox and further resources if you need to research a little bit more. Tonight, today, morning, I don't know what time of day it even is when you're watching this, but whenever I'm talking about digital detox, it can include a lot of specific kinds of technology or uses of technology. So I may say cell phone, social media, email, tablet, any of those things. When I say them, please know that I do mean whatever form of technology is distracting or disturbing your daily life. You know best what that technology is. And so all of the techniques can be applied to any of those distractions for you. So why even do a digital detox? Technology is definitely a huge benefit in keeping us connected, but it can also become a part of unhealthy habits. So when I talk about detoxing from technology, I am not saying that those benefits don't exist. They are definitely there, but I just want to focus tonight on when technology begins to interfere with or make our lives harder. And if you notice that pattern in your life and you're wanting to disconnect, or just take some space and you're not being able to do that, that's when it's time to consider a digital detox. After all, if it was just as easy as turning off your cell phone, you would probably have done it already and we wouldn't be watching this video at all.
There are some key benefits to a digital detox, and this infographic and many of the other strategies I'll be sharing come from a variety of sources. So, if you're interested in the citations and resources, they're available for you with the handouts and then slide notes online. So, this study in particular was done in the US, but the percentages in Canada are likely very similar. So, for many of us, cell phones began as a great way to stay connected and build relationships. But they can, in fact, become damaging to relationships when they're used in ways that keep us from connecting with those that we are with in real life. Another issue can come around our hyperconnectedness and a lack of work life balance that comes from the expectation that we will always be reachable. Another aspect can be how easy it is to lose time to digital time wasters. How many of us have hobbies or tasks that we would love to find the time to do, but they always seem to be unfinished? Decreasing time spent on social media or time wasting games can both help us to be more productive as well as creative as we engage different parts of our brain through boredom. I know of very few people who say that they can get enough sleep, or, well, enough good sleep. So, cutting off screen time before bed can be a great way to ensure your melatonin production stays correct. As well, scrolling through pictures of other people's carefully curated lives can lead us to compare ourselves, usually unfavorably, with unattainable standards. And this can lead to depression, increased loneliness, shyness, and less engagement at work. The opposite can also be true, and in difficult times, seeing a never ending stream of bad news can have its own disastrous results. These are purely physical ramifications as well. 65% of Americans experience digital eye strain and neck pain from looking down at devices, not to mention a more sedentary life as we spend more and more time indoors or on the couch. Taking a step away from our digital devices can increase our attention span and ability to think and solve problems.
Now, I've talked about some of the reasons that we might want to take on a digital detox. It's time to think about what you want to get out of it. Is it to totally cut out tech, cut down on social media, take a break, find time for a new hobby? What is your goal for taking on this challenge? Take a moment to pause the class and think about what it is you want to get out of this time. Next, I'm going to talk about 5 tips for just sort of an easy way to do a detox right away. The first is to plan in advance. Pick a time when you can take that time away. Maybe it's during a long weekend, maybe it's a summer vacation, just a time when you can put aside that time from being connected to the world and just focus on this as an addition to your life. You can just get your kids and family to follow along with you too if you want to make it kind of a whole family affair. The next is to spread the words. Let people know that you're going to be doing this. This has two benefits. The first is that it lets people know not to expect you to be responding right away on social media or email so that they don't think you're ignoring them. But the second is that it holds you a little bit more accountable. If you have to explain to everybody on Twitter that you're breaking your detox and why are you posting things, that might be that little bit of extra social shaming that keeps you on track with your good intentions. And related to that, you want to be adding something into your life that is a positive thing that can really help. When you put down your phone or turn off the television, there is a chance you might get bored, and you don't want your first response to that boredom to be picking up that remote again. So, before you start, plan a list of things that you want to do that are positive things to do instead. As I said at the beginning, a lot of people are taking on a detox because they find they don't have enough time for other activities in their life that they would like to be doing. Make sure that those things are top of your list. Some ideas of things that you might do if you're wanting to add some. You can add, going for a walk, taking up meditation, even reading a book, and even doing something good for your health. So maybe some exercising or planning some healthier meals. The fourth tip is to remove temptations. Compulsively checking our phones for updates has become second nature to many of us. And one of the first things that a lot of us do, me included, when we get out of bed in the morning is to check our phones. And so, one suggestion is to remove those temptations. So, don't have your phone as your alarm clock, maybe have a different kind of clock. Even move your charging station for your phone across the room from your bed so that you're not tempted to have it right there in your hand. This can also be, removing laptop computers or remote controls for TVs from your living room. This is a good chance to sort of put those things out of sight. One analogy is that if you were on a diet, you probably wouldn't have a giant chocolate cake on your kitchen counter. So try to move that technology so that it's not quite so front of line and tempting. And finally, thinking about how you're going to re enter the digital world after your detox. A digital detox can be pretty extreme. And so there may be a lot of messages and notifications and texts that have piled up on you when you have been gone. And just jumping right back into all of them and answering them is really kind of counter to the intentions of taking a digital detox. When you're coming back in, prioritize. Think about what it is that you want to get back to right away and maybe where you don't. It can be that you don't want to check everything as often as maybe you were before. And so remember, you don't actually have to be at the beck and call of your notification buttons. You can control how you are responding and how you're using the internet. So one of the key tips with the I mentioned was about making a plan. And so the next section of this class is going to be about introducing a variety of kinds of plans that you could use as examples so that you can kind of use those to develop your own plan. Some of the examples that I may use may not be super relevant to your situation. Please just sort of take them as a sampler pack and you can sort of pick and choose what works for you. And of course, if you want to go back and listen to some of the ones that I've mentioned, the beauty of video is you can always come back and listen to it again. One way to do the detox is just to take that time, as I talked about, over that long weekend and sort of adding it onto a vacation or another time away from your regular life. But what if you're not going to be able to do that? Life does keep coming at us, and we're not always able to take time away. So, another kind of detox challenge that's not that sort of 2 days away challenge is a 30-day challenge. And in this challenge, instead of going cold turkey on all of the technology all at once, you're going to sort of be more mindful in your use of technology. And so there will be a different challenge each day that I will take you through. And again, as I said, some of them may work for you and some may not. And there may be different challenges that you really want to try that you think will be better. So let's jump in.
So, the second detox we'll be looking at is a 30-day plan. The first few days of this detox are about starting to be aware of how you're using technology. A lot of us don't even realize how much time we've been on our phone or iPad, or even just watching TV. So, this detox starts with a list of the things that you're concerned about and tracking how much time you're using technology recreationally for the day. The next step is to stop having your phone or device beeping at you constantly. This has been a great deal of research that has been done by tech companies to make these notification sounds appealing and have us all keeping coming back for more. You can still check in on your texts or emails without the alerts when you want to. I promise they'll still be there. The next 3 days are about different ways of decreasing your technology use at the beginning of your day. I'm definitely guilty of this one, as I use my phone as an alarm clock and then end up scrolling through email instead of using my mornings in a more relaxing way. The next set of days are about trying out different ways to push back at being online at all times and limiting the number of times you check your devices, to doing other tasks for recreation and spending more time connecting with people. Again, these are some different ways to limit your online intake, like only checking social media sites for a limited time period during the day, or not posting for a day. And if I'm going out for dinner isn't an option for you, then maybe you can go for a walk or sit in your backyard. These suggestions are more ways to get you using your technology more mindfully so that you can pick different challenges that work for you if these aren't. Day 19 talks about Stay Focused and Block Site, which are apps that can help you to enforce time limits on particular websites. Are you spending too much time on WebMD or Facebook? As well, there are other apps like Space. This is an app that helps you to set goals and be more mindful of screen usage and tracks your screen time. Or App Detox, which creates rules to limit access to certain apps, including an option that allows you to walk to earn screen time. And Off the Grid, which will completely block your phone for the length of time that you determine. And if you get the urge to end your block early, it charges you $1. Finally, at the end of the 30 days, there are a couple bigger challenges around shutting off Wi Fi for the whole day or turning off your devices for the whole day, and then returning to using your technology and comparing your use to the beginning of the detox to see if anything has changed, and looking back at the concerns you had at the beginning. This is obviously an example, and as I said, soon we'll spend some time thinking about what kind of detox would work for you. But first impressions, having seen this list of the kinds of ways that you can detox, take a minute to think about what strikes you as a really great idea that you want to try. Which would be the hardest? And did this list make you think of other ideas that you would want to try for yourself?
As good as a detox is, most of us can't give up on the digital world altogether. We have jobs and lives that require us to use technology to some degree and not, go and live like a hermit in the woods. So, after you've had this reset, how much and seen how much better things are going to be without this technology in your everyday life, how do you go back to regular life without falling back into those bad habits? First, you need to set some boundaries that will keep you from being overwhelmed again. So, how you set those boundaries going forward and how do you regain that balance and not get pulled in too much? So, that's going to be our next section. Regaining balance is what we have been trying to do the whole time from our digital detox. It's not just that we're using technology that is the problem, it's the way that we use it without limits. So, here are some ideas of ways that you can put simple boundaries on technology after your detox, or even as a part of your detox plan to have better work life or social life balance. The simplest ones are related to time and place. So, for example, maybe no phones at the dinner table or no phones in the bedroom, could be no screens after dinner time. Your boundary could be as simple as just setting screen time based on time at all, not after 10 p.m. to be ready for bed. Or it could be something more specific, so no work emails after supper. But whatever it needs to fit with your life and be realistic. If you have a job or you're a parent and you're not able to shut off your phone because you need to be available in case of emergencies as a caregiver, then don't set that as a boundary. It's not going to be reasonable and sustainable for you. What you want to think about is your lifestyle and where is technology right now that it is not supposed to be? Where is it causing that disruption to your life and what you want to have happening? When you've thought about that, that's your answer to when those boundaries need to happen. So if you want, you can take a minute right now and think about that. One key example is that a lot of people have made a boundary that technology doesn't mix with food. So you can have those family breakfasts or dinners or just time to be with a partner and friends without being on your phone when you're eating. Another way to set a boundary can be just to have regular unplugged time. Going without your phone or any technology. And this can be tough at first, and so you may need to start with a smaller amount of time and then build up to it. And one way to do this right at home would be, without even going outside, would be to sort of set up a box and put your technology inside of it so that that's kind of where it lives during unplugged time and you're not as tempted to pick it up. As I talked about at the very beginning of this session, finding things that you enjoy to replace your tech with is a great way to set a boundary. So maybe if you're setting that no screen time after 10 p.m. rule, that's when you're breaking out a book to read, or you're going to do a puzzle or coloring or whatever it is. But other than that, and reading, which I always recommend, you can keep a journal, reflect on your day. A few years ago, I actually taught myself to knit, and that's a great way to do something with your hands, but not a screen. Uh, Actually, that cactus that's just right over here, it was actually knit by me. So trying to think of that something else that you want to do. It could be something like going for a walk or a bike ride, even just finding something to kind of replace that time. Replacing text with getting back to nature, as I said, for going for a walk can be a really great way to reconnect with the world outside of our screens. Another suggestion might be to go and plant something or go for a walk in the community or even just go and sit in your backyard or on a balcony. Often we go from work to home to work again, and we're on screens in both locations. So, finding a way to be connected to the real world out of doors can be a great way to take that break from technology. Technology is designed to be hard to ignore. Those notification noises, alerts, likes, they give us a little rush, and they're supposed to. One of the many triggers for us to pick up our devices can be those notifications. So, one kind of boundary that you can set is to just mute them. I do promise that the actual message will still be there without a notification, so you can still check your email or tweets or whatever it is without a little buzz telling you that it's there. Marie Kondo is very big recently, and so many of us have decluttered our homes, but have you decluttered your digital life? So maybe it's time to try getting rid of some apps that you don't use, clearing out old emails, deleting or creating folders for stuff that you don't need to see. It could even be looking at your social media. Do you need to be on all of the platforms that you currently are? Or if you do, you need to follow all of the people that you currently do. Sort of taking a look and curating that experience can help you to have more balance. Another thing that you can try to do to tame those triggers is delaying your responses. A recent study found that most emails are responded to within 2 minutes. And that doesn't give us any time to really think about or have a careful response. So, one way to do that could be to sort of set up a couple times during the day when you respond to emails. That might even be something you want to let people know about so that they don't think you're ignoring them, especially if they're used to those 2 minute responses. But that can also buy you some time for focus on other projects if you're not being interrupted by, again, those email notifications every kind of chunk of time. Another way can just be to simply turn your phone into airplane mode. It will still be available for you in case of an emergency, but you won't be having any of those notifications. And from what I've been saying, it may seem like all technology is designed to be terrible and draining, but we, of course, know that that's not true. A couple of the examples I've talked about before, there actually are ways to mindfully include technology into them. For example, if you're going for a walk, you might want to put your phone on airplane mode, but to have it with you for an emergency and listen to some music or a podcast while you're out. Maybe a lot of us have family and friends who are living remotely. And so we're using a lot of technology to stay connected. That doesn't have to be something that you take away in a digital detox. It's just about thinking of how you're using technology to connect and make sure that it's not getting in the way of connections from those people who are in your face to face life. Many of these suggestions came from Tanya Gooden's book Off. If you're looking for ideas on how to do a digital detox for a family in particular, she has another great book called Stop Staring at Screens, a digital detox for the whole family. And that uses many of the same principles that I've discussed here, but applies them more generally to parenting and modeling good relationships with technology, as well as how some of these tips might work when you're trying to get the kids to come in with you on them. Now that we've talked a little bit about the ideas behind a digital detox, it's time for you to plan your own. If you want to use one of your handouts or just sort of think it through, there's some questions to take on that handout, though, that you can use to help you get started. So take a minute, pause the video, maybe look at those and think through, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And how are you going to hold yourself accountable? I've also made a list of resources for people who want to learn more, and that's available on the library's website. So thank you very much for spending this time with me today, and please do check out the other EPL online classes that are available on our website, and there's lots of other content you may be interested in. I wish you well on your digital detox, and thanks for spending your time with me. Goodbye.